have a cause, and the cause is human rights. And human rights is something so radically necessary in the Middle East, and as you see throughout the world today, we're in a horror factor with war after war that brings about tremendous refugees who are displaced, and as we know now in Europe, Yugoslavia, you name it, this century has been perhaps the largest century for migrations of peoples whose homes have been either destroyed or in conflict from even neighboring nations. Palestine, Israel. I work with rabbis for human rights in Israel. We do call it Israel, and we work for Palestinian rights. And those Palestinian rights, I must say, is a very complicated problem. It isn't so innocently understood that wars don't create refugees. The 1967 war was in fact the biggest tragedy for the Palestinians. It was a war of Arab nations against the Israel state, which caused tremendous horror and displacement of Palestinians. Today, the occupation, which is a very serious, terrible occupation, one of greed, one of injustice, one of power, but a Western power. It's not even, it has nothing to do with Jewish values. Israel is a Jewish state, and it has nothing at all to do with Jewish values. Jewish values are very much about human rights and the high respect of the other. And this particular government and previous governments have really gone against all Jewish ways and values that have always represented the Jews all over the world as fair and politically fair, looking for the right cause for human rights. And it's a tragedy what is happening today. I work also with Women at the Barrier. I also work with Gush Shalom, and also with Yesh Gvul, which are the army boys who have the courage to speak out against the acts that they're asked not, how do you say, legally have to perform, and are now going to prison because they refuse to perform. It's a new age of realization, but it isn't enough. Most of Israel is in denial. Israeli population does not know the Palestinian problem. It's kept from them. The propaganda is enormous, of fear, of terrorist acts. The walls went up. Stealing Palestinian lands into 5, if not 6, if not 10 kilometers into Palestinian lands, to put up walls that were so-called security walls. Very untrue. We work against it, but there's very few of us. And it isn't thousands. At Rabin's assassination, there were 400,000 of us, not for his celebration of his murder, but for a left that had come again to take and to come into a realization with the Palestinian peoples as a one state with the Palestinian people. Today we're talking about 2 states. I'm very anti 2 state. I think politically it's necessary. I think it's tragic, because with the Palestinian state will come the next stage of transfer of people from Israel, of 1.5 million, if not more, Palestinians who will be thrown out. I see that as a future. It's not optimistic at all, it's very pessimistic, and for me it will be a tragedy. I just don't know which way we're going to go. It looks worse than ever. I'm not at all optimistic. Because of the support from America, I think that's also Israel's downfall. I think the Palestinian rising would be wonderful if they would get together. We've always wished they would get together as a Palestinian people to raise the morale and to come forward in a way of negotiation. It's a fallout, and I'm very, very concerned about the situation. I go out during the day and I'm very happy I'm working for Palestinian rights, but I come home and I cry. I know it's a pittance. It's nothing to what has to be done. And I don't know how to give hope to this. I love the way Ramsey talked. He talked and spoke with a lot of compassion and a lot of goodness. It's amazing because one would think there would be a lot of anger and a lot of what we call in Hebrew zam, but neither side have this. It's a peculiar phenomena. Extreme right-wing groups do, but the population do not have this hate. There is a dialogue between Palestinians in Israel, 1.5 million of the population, which are Israeli by right, that are still treated as second citizens, do not have passports, can have a laissez-passer to go abroad, but it's all by permission. What can I say? I'll either come to England and get more Jewish awareness here to put more pressure on Israeli government. That would be one way. And maybe a stronger Palestinian peoples, which at the moment are very divided. And that's not to their benefit at all, in terms of, yes, sitting at the table, yes, negotiating, back to 67 borders, which I'm all for, and many of us are, but it's many 1,000, 2,000 out of 6.5 million people.